Happy New Year, First Presbyterian Church of Moorestown. We're going to begin 2025 with a sermon series on keeping the Sabbath. Most of us know that we are commanded by God to keep a day of rest, a Sabbath. It's the fourth commandment. However, most of us don't practice keeping the Sabbath. In fact, most of us don't even think about it. And I think we are paying a high price for neglecting this commandment of God. As I look around, I see that so many people are exhausted mentally, physically, and emotionally, and spiritually too. I see people on the edge of burnout. I observe that folks live without rest or margin. And this is not the way God has made us to be or to live. Now, I'll be honest with you. I've struggled to keep the Sabbath. In fact, I would say that for most of my Christian life, I have not maintained a Sabbath practice, but I'm trying to change that because I believe that God not only wants us to keep the Sabbath by way of command, but that the Sabbath is a gift. It's a gift of rest. And I can't think of anything that we might need more right now in our lives individually and as a congregation than the gift of rest. I've created a set of resources that I commend to you as a part of our sermon series. You will find books and questions for reflections, and I commend them to you. I want to tell you that if you're going to begin this practice, it's going to take some effort and some commitment. Do it. It's worthwhile and you're worth the effort. Here's a couple of things just to keep in mind as we would begin together. First, start small. I believe that a Sabbath practice should be 24 hours in length, but for a lot of us, that's too much. So begin where you can. If you can only do a few hours, then start there and try to add hours as you go week by week. Think subtraction, not addition. Don't try to jam a Sabbath practice into your already overly busy, overly committed lives. Instead, think about what are some easy things that you could set aside or give up for this day. You'll get out of it what you put into it. The more fully you give yourself to this practice, the more life-changing it will be. But please note, you're swimming upstream. This is not a practice of our society. It's been lost entirely. But it doesn't matter that our community or our society doesn't practice it. That's never kept God's people going all the way back thousands of years for Jewish people for keeping the Sabbath. You can keep the Sabbath with God's grace and help. Remember the J curve too as you begin a practice like this. Things usually get worse before they get better. If you are starting out, you may find that your first few Sabbaths or feel a little bit awkward, but hang in with it. Remember, this is a day of rest, it's a gift. So I want you to think about what will renew you and energize you. Finally, there's no formation without repetition. If you give up after 1 or 2 weeks, well, yeah, it's not going to work, of course. Last thing I tell you is think about bringing others into this practice. If you have a family living with you, that's a place to start, or find some friends, some other families, or some other couples to do it. One of the resources that I've listed for you is called Practicing the Sabbath. It's a book by John Mark Comer, and it's a part of a larger study called Practicing the Way. We're going to be doing this study as a congregation in Lent, but right now you can find the link to that study. The resources are free and they're excellent. There's a 4-week study called Practicing the Sabbath. You can find it, you can download it for free, or you can buy a copy of the book through Amazon. Well, my dear church family, I look forward to beginning the practice of Sabbath keeping, Sabbath rest with you. God bless us all as we seek to honor the Lord together and to know his rest